Welcome to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. I'm Dr. Daniel Amen.
And I'm Tana Amen. Here we teach you how to win the fight for your brain to defeat anxiety, depression, memory loss, ADHD, and addictions.
The Brain Warriors Way podcast is brought to you by Amen Clinics, where we've transformed lives for 3 decades using brain SPECT imaging to better target treatment and natural ways to heal the brain. For more information, visit amenclinics.com.
The Brain Warriors Way podcast is also brought to you by BrainMD, where we produce the highest quality nutraceutical products to support the health of your brain and body. For more information, visit brainmdhealth.com. Welcome to the Brain Warriors Way podcast.
Welcome back to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. We are so excited for the next 3 podcasts to actually have one of our dear friends, Barry Goldstein, whose musical experience spans many styles and genres, from co-producing the Grammy Award-winning track 69 Freedom Special with Les Paul for Best Rock Instrumental in 2005, to providing ambient music for Shirley MacLaine. Barry has composed and produced for television, film, major record labels, and top 10 recording artists. In addition, Barry reached Billboard top 10 albums on New Age charts with the New York Times bestselling authors Neil Donald Walsch, Anita Moorjani, and yours truly, Dr. Daniel Amen. We did that last year with the Brain Warriors Way album, which we'll talk about. In addition, he's composed and produced music for authors like Greg Braden, my friend Dr. Joe Dispenza, Colette Baron-Reed. Barry's just done so many things. His best-selling book, The Secret Language of the Heart, provides the latest scientific research on the benefits of sound, music, and vibration. His music is used in hospitals, hospices, cancer centers, and medical practices. And the reason we wanted to have him on, besides we love him and he's our friend, and music is such a hot topic when it comes to the brain. It's one of the things that has been shown to actually grow the hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped structure in your brain that's responsible for memory. It can decrease stress hormones. It can improve your mood. There's so many cognitive and neuroscience benefits to it. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with both of you.
Thank you for being with us. So how did this all start for you? How did you fall in love with music, and why healing?
Yeah, well, it took quite a couple of turns to get to this point. But at a young age, I discovered the power of music sitting behind a piano with my mom, and just her playing and me realizing the resonance that happened in a room when you hit a piano. So I think I fell in love with it at an early age. And as I progressed to becoming a music producer in New York City, I realized that I was beginning to lose my love of music by creating 100 hours of studio time to create a 5-minute song, and how stressed I was becoming actually within that. So I started to kind of take away everything I knew about music and started to create in a much different way of composing and just allowing the music to come through me, as opposed to spending that meticulous time in production and composition. And I started to target back to my own heart rate at a relaxed state.
Oh, interesting.
I did some research on the internet, and at 60 beats per minute, most of us between 60 and 70 beats maintain a relaxed state. So I said, well, I really want to reconnect with my heart. And so I began to take these hour-long journeys, I call them, of decomposing, really. And
interesting.
Yeah, I thought no one will listen to this, but maybe it will help me with my stresses. And people encouraged me. They said, you need to put this music out there because it's very, very calming. They were hour-long pieces, not a lot of melody. And now we're learning in research that this exact type of music is how we're targeting people with insomnia. So at 60 beats per minute, very long tones, not a lot of melody, really kind of induces us to relaxation. So I think I was doing it then. And then I became very curious as we began to gather testimonials from people of how they were using it in dentist offices and for sleep and with their mom who had dementia. I got so curious about it that I wanted to know why this was happening.
Yeah, so I'm one of those people. I use that music to go to sleep. I meditate to it. I actually did a long dental procedure with no anesthesia because I just didn't want the anesthesia.
Right.
But using meditation and music. So I never really understood how it affects your brain, but clearly it does. Music is very powerful.
Well, we love it so much that Barry's music is the brain enhancing music we have on Brain Fit Life.
Right.
And it's similar to our Billboard charting album, The Brain Warriors
so
Way.
funny. It's
I
great.
love saying that because there's music for sleep, there's music for relaxation, there's music for focus, creativity, motivation.
Right.
So how is that all different? I mean, you target the beat of the heart, but when you want to help someone feel happier or more focused, how do you change the music for that?
Yeah, well, it does target the beat of the heart, and the heart-brain relationship is really interesting because when you're targeting your heart, you're really targeting your brain as well, and vice versa. So if I'm slowing down and I'm in that relaxed state, and my heart is coming down, my heart rate is coming down to a relaxed state, I'm not going to be able to be in beta, with that. I'm going to move to a slower brain wave state as well.
Interesting.
So there's this conversation that happens between the heart and brain that's targeting these, but really a lot of it as well as dynamics, within music. So when we're trying to relax in the evening, you want very little melody. But if you have an important business meeting and you want to be motivated and inspired, you're going to listen to something with rhythm, right? You're going to want to feel that in your body.
Right.
And so you're working with dynamics as well. And we've showed this in research with attention. When there's dynamics in music, for example, if you go to a classical concert and all of a sudden there's a pause in the music, your attention is completely grabbed by that silence because all of a sudden the dynamic has changed. So by
Fascinating.
by creating these dynamics, you can target different moods and enhance different moods.
So without knowing any of the science, I think most of us are intuitively know that music changes our moods, it changes our states, and it can do it very quickly.
That's right.
I know, like I just said, for sleep, I will often meditate to that type of music you talked about, those long, sort of drawn out, I don't know what you would call it technically, but slower type of music.
Yes.
I'm a rock girl, so put some Def Leppard on and I'll get motivated and I want to work out, and it's like that's my happy place.
Right,
Makes me happy instantly. Put 70s music on and I feel instantly anxious and angry.
Right.
And it's weird.
I cannot listen to Cat Stevens
No.
at home. I grew up loving Cat Stevens. And as soon as I do, because it reminds her of her drug addict uncle, the trauma when
But
she was
music
4
has
years
that
old.
power.
Right. And I think that's really where we're going with music. Now that we're starting to see more and more research on it, we're getting more specific because it's not just a panacea where we can prescribe music like we do
No.
medicine.
Right.
Each person is so individual that we
It
have
can
to
be
look.
therapeutic, but it can be traumatizing based on your experience.
That's right. And I think that's where we're starting to fine tune the research and starting to say, wow, we really have to get more specific with this because music's very powerful. We just can't subcategorize and say, okay, classical is great for this, heavy metal's not good for this, because within each one of those, there's so many differences. And I think that we might be oversimplifying a bit when we're looking at genre-specific music because, for example, in classical music, you can listen to the William Tell Overture or you can listen to a Brahms lullaby.
Right.
Right. And so when we say classical, what part
Wide range.
Right. What part of classical is it? What part of reggae is it when we're talking about that? What's the tempo of it?
Right.
Who played it? Right.
Yeah, even
Because-
rap. Rap has happy rap, and then it's got some pretty dark
That's right.
stuff.
That's right. So it's when we begin to realize the power of music that we can then incorporate it to a program where we're targeting our own mood states. We're targeting physical challenges, insomnia, or we're targeting even becoming more emotionally intelligent with autistic children.
Amazing.
And we can talk more about that, but there's some amazing studies of how music engages the brain and the emotional aspects of that to create emotional intelligence and autism.
That's amazing.
And it's not just playing music. It can be listening to music. So there's this concept called entrainment, which means your brain picks up the rhythm.
That's right.
And the beat in the environment.
That's right.
And so talk about that a little bit and how people are using your music in different kinds of settings.
Okay. Well, music is a language, so it speaks to us. And just like a language, it creates a rhythm. Like you ever hear people say, I'm falling out of rhythm in my life. Mm-hmm. Right? So music has a metronome that it basically utilizes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Your heart in our body is also a metronome. And study has shown at 66 beats per minute, they just had people listening to a metronome. And it actually reduced anxiety.
Oh, wow.
Just by listening to that metronome. So when we begin to apply that into music as well, targeting different states, if we want to be relaxed at 60 beats per minute, let's listen to a piece like we discussed, where it's really long tones, not a lot of melody that's going to distract you. But your heart has the ability to adapt. And that's why when people are working out, they're not going to listen to relaxation music. There's been a study that I think it was done by Pandora that showed people listening to yoga, one of the most important things for them is the music that is played.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the yoga session, right?
So one of the reasons I have trouble with yoga is the music is too slow for me.
Right, but there are some classes that are like very kind of DJ oriented, right? And they're taking you on more of a journey, right? Because there's several stages of yoga. Yeah, it will have slow music, it will have music to move to, because your heart's adapting. You're beginning to breathe to it, and your breath is beginning to be the conductor as well. So I consider the heart like the orchestra leader that's going on in your physical body. And when you're breathing, that's the conductor saying, no, let's slow down here, let's speed up here. And then your heart starts to send out those messages. We call this coherence.
Interesting.
So when your heart is beating at these smooth, orderly rhythms, right, it's just like the conductor. Wow, you can hear the harmonies, you can hear the beautiful sections of the orchestra.
So that's one of the reasons it has the power to help us calm down and slow not only our heart, but even change our brain state.
Well, and there's actually something called heart rate variability, which is the beat-to-beat variability of your heart that is associated with anxiety, depression, memory issues, the more variability. So it's a myth that when I take your pulse, or you're a nurse, when you take a pulse, it should be even. Because if there's too little variability, that's a sign of illness and stress. And after you have a heart attack, if you don't have the variability, you have more than double the risk of dying in the next 2 years. And certain kinds of music actually increase heart rate variability, which is heart health, which then goes to brain health. They are connected.
They're very connected.
And the heart has its own nervous system that's connected to the big brain.
So for people listening, there's not really inherently anything right or wrong with listening. Like, because you don't like slow music, it's not a bad thing. And you like, a faster beat. It's just your preference.
Yeah, I mean, there are some great starting points with it that, we can plug in, just like there's some general things in medicine or general things in nourishment, right, that we know that work really well, like what we're talking about. But ultimately, it's targeting the states that you want to be in. And I call it becoming the DJ of your own life. Just like a DJ.
That. So, but let's give us a prescription on, because, here at the Brain Warriors Way podcast, we talk about, so here are brain healthy habits. Here are things to do and here are things not to do, right?
Great.
They're general prescriptions. And then they're prescriptions for, I struggle with ADD, I have anxiety, I have depression, and so on. Next podcast, we're actually going to go into some of those conditions and talk about different strokes for different folks.
Okay.
But for now, as we finish this one up, talk about what are some general guidelines on how to use music to boost your heart health, but also your brain health?
Okay, so can I use you as an example?
All the time.
Okay, so tell me about your day today. How did your day start off? Some things that are going on in your day, and let me work with you to create a little music program for the day.
Awesome. So I woke up early thinking I'm working on The Magic of Memory, a new course with a friend of mine who's a memory savant. And so as soon as I woke up, I went through the 40 things I memorized last night, just as an exercise to see if I could remember them. So I did that. And
so I'll pause you there, right? So with that, I mean, you're talking about gathering a lot of information, right? And waking up with excited, right? And you want to basically integrate some of that information, and just allow it to kind of like stew and brew. Right. So for me, I like to start off my day with a piece of music that connects me to gratitude. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And just really connecting with my breath, my heartbeat. I call this the Internal Symphony, the sounds within me. So I would start off with a piece of music that creates gratitude for me. And sometimes that's a very calming piece of music, or it could be like Sly and the Family Stone. Thank you for letting me be myself. So we're not getting genre specific. We're gearing towards what emotion do I want to target and what piece of music is going to make me feel that way. So that would be my jump start for you with that and beginning in gratitude. And then I would ask myself, what's my intention for the day? So where do you want to go next? What would you like? What would you like to achieve in your day?
Well, I love what you said, because as soon as my feet hit the floor in the morning, I have a mantra for myself: today is going to be a great day. Because then my brain finds why it's going to be a great day. So if there's a piece of music that's attached to gratitude and positive emotion, that's awesome.
Yeah, and mantra too. I mean, that's another great thing to talk about. But what repetitive mantra does, it takes you out of your thinking mind, right? And also, it increases cerebral blood flow. So that mantra, when you're doing it over and over again, you're going to increase that blood flow to get those ideas going to get your day started.
I adore you. He's the yin to my yang. He's amazing. He grounds me. But he's the poster child for being grounded and like not getting shaken up all that much. That's not me. So let's just talk about people who are a bit more like I wake up in the morning, had that total same. I wake up with the gratitude. I want to focus and get myself, and I do that, and I did that, and then instantly my day just gets hectic. It got really hectic really fast, and then I got off the tracks and got really annoyed at something really quickly. Now I have a little exercise I do to like let it go. Because I knew I needed to come in and record, and it's like, let this go. So get back to gratitude. But let's talk about people who are a bit more
disrupting your
average.
state.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's
And then I'll put it on my phone.
Okay. So we have, and let's talk about two things. So grounding, right? So if you want to re-ground in your morning, you feel like you're going off base. For you, think about the ground, right?
Right.
What kind of music do you think is going to ground you in?
Oh, geez. What do I like, or what do I think will ground me?
What do you think will ground you?
I don't know. I like bass. I don't know.
Exactly.
Oh, is that right?
That's exactly
I'm so
right.
happy.
It's exactly right. That's what I was going to say.
That's what I'm drawn to.
So ground, think of that. You want to go, what does the ground do? It goes lower.
Right. I love
So you want to
bass.
connect to bass.
Which is why I love rock.
Right. Or even, some of the more modern dance music and hip hop has a lot of bass in it. So that's going to ground you. So you can.
It's not because I have ADD. It's because I need to be grounded.
Yeah, so
We're
you're
coming
going to
back
feel
to
yourself
ADD
more
in
in
the
your
next
body
podcast.
because you can feel the bass.
That's so true.
Right. So that's going to be great for
It's all about that bass.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense because I just I'll turn the bass up in my car because I'm like, I just feel that. You just
Yeah, so those are the
nailed it.
lower frequencies, right? Bass are lower frequencies. They're slower moving. They're lower and slower, right? If it was the other way around and you want to be in a more creative state, you want to go higher because they're lighter energies. But grounding back in is going to be all about the bass.
I'm always drawn to that.
Yeah.
So when we come back, we are going to talk more about how to use music as part of your day and how different people like Tan and I can use music in a more targeted way. Stay with us. We're here with Barry Goldstein on the Brain Warriors Way podcast.
So welcome back. We are still here with our friend Barry Goldstein, and I have to tell you, I'm having so much fun. I just learned something really interesting. I always thought that especially because of my husband, Dr. Raymond, that my love of rock was because of my ADD, and I just learned that it's because it grounds me. I'm so happy.
Often because you have ADD.
So we're just having a blast talking about music, how it affects your brain, what the science is behind it. And so welcome back.
Thank you. This is awesome.
We're having a blast.
So before we get into different strokes for different folks, let's spend more time and talk about how music can help you through your day. So if you're getting ready to film or you're getting ready for a meeting, what can you do with music ahead of time?
Well, again, asking yourself, where am I now? Where do I want to go? That's going to be my rule of thumb that I keep going back to. And if you're looking to be more motivated or more inspired because you have a leadership meeting, I like to listen to Vangelis. I like to listen to music with a lot of impact to it. And for me, that really inspires and kind of starts my flame, to go, you want to tap into that fire energy.
So other examples of that might be?
Yeah, I mean, it could be Native American drumming, things with rhythm that we're finding more and more the power of rhythm. We haven't really studied that much in the past, but we're learning more and more that even in drum circles, which is very similar to Native American drums, where people are actually hitting a drum or hitting an instrument, that there is decreased inflammation
that's
going
so
on
interesting
in the physical body. That's a new study that I just read.
Wow.
And so if you think about that, when you're drumming, what's going on? You're releasing, right, a lot of pent up emotions that are going on. It's a lot of that energy. So it's not that different when you're listening to it.
So I've just been texting with Tony Robbins. He has been talking about our work at some of his seminars. And so Tan and I are actually going to go to his seminar, which we're really excited about. And I know he uses music a lot throughout his events to get people excited, motivated, talk about how seminar leaders or motivational speakers might use it to pump up a crowd, but how then people can use it to pump up themselves.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that Anthony Robbins in each section is saying, wow, where is my audience now? And where do I want to take them?
Because I've been through his trainings, and in each one, when he goes through the relationship training, it's very different.
Right. It's going to be really beautiful music. You want to open the heart up. So you want to induce that emotion, where you're feeling more contemplative so you can go inward. So it creates more safety when you're playing that slower, more beautiful music. But then when people are released, right, and they're on the other side, in other words, they've made their conquest and they've had their breakthrough. Right. Because Anthony Robbins was the first book I ever read that was kind of in the self-help and motivation, and I loved it. And then I saw what he was doing at seminars. I go, well, he's really the DJ of these people's experience of what's going on. So he's going to have a much more up-tempo, right, a more success-driven, we did it, right, very inspirational to share in that joy. Of it. So he's really targeting those states.
Because that becomes a theme, I think, to become the DJ of your own life, of your own experience. So you can take yourself where you want to go with music.
And that's the power of it, because normally we leave that to other people to do for us. Right. And when we basically say, wow, I'm going to become the DJ of my own life, I'm going to make this a program that I'm going to incorporate. Then it moves beyond art and entertainment, where we're having these random, powerful experiences. Why? Why do they have to be random? Why do you have to go to a Tony Robbins workshop, or why do you need to go to a wedding, right, where you're going from point A to point B, from cocktail hour where you're relaxed to the emotion of the bride dancing with the father? We're all being taken there by a DJ. And just like the Anthony Robbins event, we can create this in our life after those amazing experiences that we're having, where we're creating transformation like a Tony Robbins workshop. Okay, great. How do you keep that energy up for the next 3 weeks? Play Tony Robbins yourself.
Well, and it's one of the
with
reasons
music.
that they actually give out their playlist, because they had so many people requesting it.
Right.
So they actually create a playlist of the music they use in the.
And my book has different playlists, not for just different genres.
Oh, interesting.
But it targets different emotions. So let's create a playlist for gratitude.
Oh.
Right, with all.
So you actually have those playlists.
Yes, it's in the book. There's,
I love that.
10 different
The Secret
playlists. Language
of the Heart.
That's right.
Barry's best-selling book. So Barry Goldstein, The Secret Language of the Heart, available everywhere, Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com,
So I like
and so
that you
on.
did that.
Yeah, because people always say, well, how do I do it? So let's give them a starting point and say, well, here's one for joy. Right?
Interesting.
I have Joy to the World in there by Three Dog Night, which you probably won't like because it was from the 70s.
You're probably right.
But, and each one has 10 songs. And then I plug it into my day, because I think we focus so much on things to do, right, in our day, and we start checking off things to do. Okay, I did that.
Yeah.
But we very rarely look at how we want to do
An
that.
emotion and
That's
So
right.
we have to
I want to
shift
do it
a
in a
little
state
bit.
of joy.
We have to shift a little bit, but although this will relate. I wrote a book once called Sex on the Brain, and actually got re-released as The Brain in Love. And one of the things I wrote about is, if you're going to be really loving, you have to know about the brain of your partner. Mm-hmm. And so if we just think about making love, that the ADD brain, it needs to be surprised, wound up, excited, because we use stimulants to treat it.
On this podcast?
But if you're with a partner that's a little OCD and things need to be a certain way, ritual becomes critically important for them to be able to relax. Or if they're really anxious, that heavy metal probably is not the right thing to play to get your person in the mood.
That's right.
So it's targeting the music to the brain that we see. So on at amenclinics.com, where you can take our brain health assessment, there are some people that are spontaneous. They need newness, excitement, stimulation. There are other people that are cautious and they need things to sort of settle down that anxiety. There are other people that are sensitive and can be sad easily, others that are persistent. And so creating playlists, if you will, to help your partner get in the mood.
That's great.
See, I actually
really
think this is important because I noticed this in our own lives. So it's really funny. There's clearly music we both love. And so I literally I'm always telling him, find the music we both love, because he'll put on music. He's very mellow and he's very just relaxed most of the time and happy all the time.
Right.
And I'll listen to the same song 1,000 times.
It makes me psychotic.
He's so happy about that. Like the soundtrack from La La Land. I just love the soundtrack.
It makes me crazy. But he'll put
I'm
music
just laughing
on.
because Denise, my wife, and I are very similar. I'm very like this. And she has her music that she just loves.
Right.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. We have to find a balance.
It can actually be somewhat agitating. So, agitated is not the right word, but he'll play certain music that, believe it or not, it's too calm for me. It bothers me.
Right.
Like I'll find myself getting a little bit agitated. And then when the only music, because he loves music, we'll be in the car and the only music he doesn't seem to love is my playlist. I'll notice him suddenly going, turn that down. I'm trying to talk to you.
And I have a hearing problem. So.
Right. So it's the only time that we actually don't sort of, connect on that is his music's a little too calm for me and mine's probably a little too wound up for him.
Sure. So I think that's a great idea to create a playlist where you have mutual things that you like. And also I think there's probably songs that bridge the two.
Right.
So Daniel's might be a little bit
Adele
mellow.
is great.
Right, like those in-between songs, right, that are they're mid-tempo songs.
Right.
So for someone who has ADD, and
You're just stuck on this,
the
aren't you?
classic ADD, where they really want more energy so they can focus, what are good things for them to think about?
Well, actually, for ADD, and they're showing this in classrooms too, that for arithmetic and ADD students, that they're finding that actually popular music works pretty well. And if you think about it, it makes sense because they're more structured, right? So that disorder, you need more structure, you need more foundation. They know the verse is going to come here, the bridge is going to come here, and they can sing
Is that
along
what it is?
to the chorus.
See, I blasted rock music all the way through school.
Yeah, so that gives you a foundation, and you know what to come back to. There's a safe.
that's so
there's a safe
interesting.
So
place
some
to land.
examples might be Katy Perry's music, or
Katy Perry's music, or again, preferred music. For each one of those, and I think that's an important thing with kids today and parents. Is exactly how what you're talking about. You don't want to be judged on the type of music that you're listening to. Kids, that's how they also become to form their own personalities, is through music. Like I could tell you the first album that I bought was Elton John's Greatest Hits. Right? And again, they pride themselves on their music, so to speak. So if the parents don't love that music, what it's actually creates the space for them to have a great conversation with their child.
Oh, we have the
Yeah, but
best
they should be-
conversations.
parents
over
should
music.
What do you like about this?
Oh, it's hilarious. The conversations my daughter and I have, when
but
she's
parents
like,
should be listening to the music.
That's the point,
because
yes.
words matter.
Words matter.
Words matter, and if they're toxic, hateful, that really it becomes part of the neuronal networks in that child's brain. And because I'm a child psychiatrist as well, and we work at residential treatment facilities, the music they would come into listening was just awful.
Right.
And we would go, not okay here, because words matter.
Right, and that's the whole point. They should be listening to that so they can create guidance and find out the why behind it. Okay,
yeah,
so
just,
what do you like
just
about
shutting
this
it
music?
down is never going to work in the history of the universe. I think understanding them and talking
That's
to
right.
them. I know I do that with my daughter, and we've had the funniest conversations about why she listens to what she listens to. She thinks the music today is so much worse than it was when I was growing up, and I'm like, yeah, not so much. Have you ever heard, AC/DC and some of these songs, And
Right.
so we have these amazing conversations because she thinks she had to hide it from me. But me opening that door, then she doesn't have to hide it. And then she's like, wow, I had no idea. And then we have that conversation, and I'm able to tell her, honey, I actually have faith that if we talk about this, and you are the kind of person I know you are, that hearing a song at a certain time isn't going to change isn't going to change who you are, but you have to be aware.
That's right.
You need to know.
Well,
and
and parents need
aware.
to supervise children until their brains develop.
Right.
I mean, that's why
That's
God
right.
gave us parents.
But my daughter doesn't listen to dark music.
Yeah,
Right.
and there's also
No, I mean,
common
she's
common
just
ground
awesome.
there.
Right.
When they have something that you love as well, it doesn't always have to be this is your music, this is my music.
Right.
I think there's a lot of kids who are now appreciating older music, and a lot of parents who are appreciating newer music as well.
And often it's a symptom of the relationship. And so if you spend time with your kids, if you listen, if you have a good relationship, they tend to pick your values. And unless your music's awful, like the 70s, they'll enjoy that.
I love
because
70s
it's
music.
what,
Sorry, Tiny.
Yeah, me too.
It's like nails in a chalkboard for me.
What about people who struggle with anxiety or depression?
Well, anxiety and depression, it's usually fear turned inward in terms of the experience of that. And so they don't get a large opportunity to always work with the energy of it. And I was reading something that you guys said in one of your blogs about working with fear and anxiety, that we have to feel the emotion in order to release it, right? Or to work with it. And it's the same thing. Sleep is such an important part of all of these things, because people who are not getting enough sleep, very often it manifests into depression or anxiety. And what we're seeing with that is that because we're so busy with internet, right, and we're so active before sleep, that we're not giving ourselves a chance to process or to wind down before sleep. So we wake up and we haven't had enough sleep. We move into we move into states where we're more anxious, and also it works against us in terms of keeping our moods up. So sleeping challenges and music for sleep are very important in terms of working with both anxiety and depression. And music for that, it's similar to what we're talking about within our program that we created, is we have a wind down piece on there called Alpha Evenings. That's perfect for that because you want to bridge your brain wave states. You want to go from beta, right? You don't want to just crash into delta. So this gives you the opportunity to bridge those states.
Interesting.
And also, I feel it's an important process to look at our day. So my book isn't just about music, it's about sound and vibration as well. So sound is, again, our voice. When you're voicing yourself and you're able to release or talk about what your day incurred. So today I experienced this anxiety or this challenge in my life. Before we go to sleep, then we're able to process it and we don't wake up with as much of it. So it's all about recognizing what you're anxious about. What did you learn from your day? And to actually speak it out loud, before you're going to sleep, to bring in the essence of releasing some of those fears.
So you can get the Brain Warriors Way music album at iTunes, at Amazon.com, at CD Baby. We're really proud of it. You can also listen to Barry's music on BrainFit Life. So if you sign up for BrainFit Life, go to mybrainfitlife.com. And, we have so many great tools, from hypnosis audios, mindfulness meditation. But, my favorite part, I have an LPGA golfer that has my BrainFit Life on her phone, and she loves the music because it helps her relax before she goes out and plays. So
another great tool for anxiousness is what I call the Internal Symphony as well, because we tend to view music that happens as something outside of us, but it's also something that's happening in us as well. So when I'm anxious or I move into a state where I'm not feeling great, I actually place my hands on my heart and I just breathe into my heart and I breathe out of my heart.
Like that. I
close my eyes and I just connect, because each one of us has a unique sound, a unique breath that we combine this with. So when we reconnect with our internal music, it brings in the appreciation for the music that we listen to as well, because we're beginning to listen to our own bodies as music. And it's an excellent tool when you start to wander in the middle of your day. You can do it anywhere. You can do it for 5 minutes. Just place your hands on your heart, close your eyes, breathe, take a breath in through your heart. And when you release that sigh, and you're releasing sound through your body as well, that sound actually helps us in dealing with tension and stress that we're experiencing.
So many good
Love
things
that.
for the brain. When we come back, we are going to talk about music as healer. Stay with us. We're here with Barry Goldstein, author of The Secret Language of the Heart, available everywhere. Also the creator and producer with me of the Brain Warriors Way music album. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are here with Barry Goldstein, author of The Secret Language of the Heart. Phenomenal book that I actually gave a wonderful endorsement to. Also the creator and co-producer with me of the Brain Warriors Way music album that charted as #2 on the New Age Billboard list. I do. I am so proud of it, and proud that it has gotten out to the world in a big way, because music heals. And that's what we're going to talk about in this podcast. Music is healer. And, and I'm sitting here and I've written about it and I've read your book and I've thought about it a lot. But I just think of your brain really plays the symphony of your life. And I have all sorts of ways to change the brain, right? We have something called hyperbaric oxygen, another thing called transcranial magnetic stimulation, audiovisual stimulators. And it's a huge part of neuroscience now. Brain stimulation. And I'm like, well, you can do that with music. You can change your state almost immediately. Absolutely. With music. And so let's just talk about healing the brain with sound and healing the brain with what you listen to.
And you mentioned something before we came on the air about even to go so far as stroke patients.
Yes.
Like that's really fascinating.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, within stroke patients, a lot of times it's the motor coordinations are not effective in terms of movement. So there's what's called TIMP, and it basically is creating movement where you teach them how to play on a piano specific scales. Oh. So it's actual musical performance that is basically done with patients. Now, of course, they're not being trained to be concert pianists, but they're using that to improve motor skills.
Interesting.
With it, and they're finding that's been very effective in terms of that. In addition, when we're talking about stroke, aphasia as well, in terms of affects our speech, our linguistics. And so we can reteach with music, linguistics as well by teaching, it's called melodic intonation. So it's the ability to relearn music through specific songs. Like you might not be able to talk, but you can sing happy birthday.
That's so fascinating, really.
You can't, Donisa's mom actually had a stroke and she was able to still sing. So they're reteaching people who have aphasia how to speak again using intonation therapy.
So for people who don't know, aphasia is it's a language disorder.
That's right.
So if you damage, for most people, it's the left front side
That's right.
of the brain, is they then either lose language or have a lot of trouble with it.
That's correct.
But music will actually trigger a different part of the brain.
That's right.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and music has the ability to create neuroplasticity. So there's pathways that music can open that you normally wouldn't get to, like language, by teaching someone to speak without music. Music can actually, it's a different route to the brain where it reorganizes the neural networks and has the ability to reconnect and reteach language. And there's some really beautiful videos on that of people who have gone through these methods. If you go to YouTube and you type in music and aphasia, you'll see how people retaught themselves to speak again through music.
Also with Alzheimer's. Talk about your experience there.
Well, with Alzheimer's, it's really been amazing, and it's where you have to thank technology in a way, because we have the ability to create these playlists and walk around with them. In the 50s, we had jukeboxes, right, that we played our favorite songs on. But now we have iPods and iPads and even little MP3 players that can hold our favorite music. And with Alzheimer's, they have found that, again, preferred music can actually work with re-invoking autobiographical memories.
Oh, wow. Please don't tell me I have to play Cat Stevens.
Well, some things we don't
want to...
if
I get demented?
Let's not have you get demented, but...
We're working on that.
Right. So, for instance, if I went to see my dad and he had Alzheimer's, and I said, Dad, do you remember Hanukkah in 1975? Wasn't that awesome? And he might not be able to remember that. But if I played Dreidel, Dreidel, Dreidel,
wow,
right, on his
That's
MP3, he has a chance to remember.
Back.
Right.
So hence why I don't like, it's not, let me be very clear, I don't have anything against Cat Stevens. 70s music, it's the memories. It's the memories it invokes.
Music, and that's something we haven't talked about, is when I listen to a certain song, it connects to that time in my life, and it may connect to someone I've lost and then make me really sad.
Right. So for me, a whole genre of music makes me anxious.
Right. And that's the thing. It's not going to be the same for each person. And sometimes it takes us by surprise when we hear a song that we don't like because it triggers negative memories.
Right, and it happens fast.
Right. So you don't want to put those songs, in your playlist, if they create...
So know the person.
Yeah, know the person. Each person's completely different. It's just, you might like broccoli,
Right.
You know, I like to compare music to food because I think of it as musical nourishment. You're going to bring into your body what is
Right.
good for you and what you react well to. So you might love broccoli, but I might be allergic to it. Mm-hmm. So yes, we know broccoli contains all these wonderful vitamins, but
it's not for everybody.
It's not for me. So with that, we need to kind of become our own experts. And it really, you guys have talked about it quite a bit throughout this. For me, it really does start with one song. So if you can find that one song that makes you happy, that's an unbelievable start. Because I had a person who came to me and said, I have extreme anxiety. What music would you suggest? And I looked at her and I said, what song do you listen to that when you hear it, you can't help but being happy? And she looked at me, and I can see her kind of doing what you're doing. Her eyes were
Right,
smiling.
instantly.
She was hearing it in
Yep.
her head already.
I was too.
And she was shifting from the anxiety. And
What was the song?
it was Green Sleeves. And
Interesting.
so I said, okay.
What were you thinking?
You really want me to say?
I
wasn't
do.
Cat
Pour some
Stevens.
sugar on me.
There you go. That might be your new happy song, Danny.
That comes from the Brain Warriors Way creator. Pour some sugar on me.
What can I say? Nickelback, Def Leppard. That's my happy place.
There you go. And, you know, I talk about this in colleges when I go to talk to the college students about the power of music. I said, whatever that song is, remember it, write it down, because that might be your lifeline in 50 years from now if you're going through Alzheimer's.
Right.
You know, because that happy song really allows you to connect.
Autobiographical songs.
That's
we have
right.
to write
That
that
defines
down.
you.
Autobiographical songs. So what songs when you were young, what songs when you were in college? You could actually develop a whole treatment system depending on what made you happy. And in addition, you could develop an attack system to find those songs that trigger unhappy places for you. So depending on how devious you are, right? I mean, we're healers for the most part, but music is powerful in a positive way, but it can also be destructive
That's
in a
absolutely
negative
true.
way.
Yeah.
It could create dissonance just like it can create harmony. What's really awesome, though, is there have been studies that have shown that even thinking about that song has positive effects
Yeah,
on
it's
your
just
brain.
like I was just
Your brain
smiling.
doesn't know the difference
Right.
between hearing it and actually thinking about it.
Because we
So
can play it in our head.
You can play it in your head.
The second you said that, my brain went to creating the song.
Right.
In fact, do you know why people get stuck on thoughts? They get the thought and they can't let it go. I hear that all the time
Right.
from my patients. And I think their basal ganglia probably is overactive and it hooks onto a song. And, you know, for me, I'm like happy with the song getting stuck in my head. But for many people, it's really irritating.
Yeah, and I think we need to basically have tools that we can plug into our day. You know, so when we're experiencing that, I love like a midday break to, I call them 5-minute musical vacations. So I listen to a piece of music, I'll go on YouTube and I want to hear something I've never heard, okay, from a different country.
Oh, interesting.
Right? I will go and type in beautiful music from the Orient.
Oh, interesting.
Right, or beautiful. There you go. There's a new word. Beautiful music from Spain, and it's so cool because you can take a 5-minute vacation, and as soon as you hear that music, you feel like you've taken a trip, and you come back to your environment. You know, if you're in front of a computer all day, feeling that you're refreshed.
That's funny because we were stuck in horrible traffic coming home yesterday, my daughter and I, and she was actually taking voice lessons. And so we were coming back from Los Angeles, stuck in traffic, and we started listening to music, kind of got bored with the same old playlist after a couple of hours.
Sure.
So I had her put Enrique on, and we were listening to all of his songs in Spanish. And she looked at me and she said, "This makes me want a salsa." I'm like, "See, so what you're saying is exactly true. It just puts you in a whole different kind of place."
Right, and when you're listening to music that's a different language and you don't understand the words, you really have no choice but to listen more to the music because you're not interpreting, you know, or analyzing the lyrics of the song. So it takes your brain in a different direction than when you're listening to lyrics as well. So
It was fun.
take a 5-minute vacation.
Didn't even think about that, but that was a fun thing.
So you can go around the world. You can go to Bali today
no.
just by the
He needs
playlist.
to go out of the country on vacation. It's not going to work.
It's the ongoing discussion between us.
Yes, vacations.
Where do you want to go?
Poor
Italy.
Barry.
I always want
So
to go to
Daniel is
Italy.
going to just create a playlist
Right.
from,
No, and then he puts a movie on. Like he'll watch
Right,
Braveheart
and then you go to
and
you.
I've already been to Scotland. I'm like, no.
It's close.
So many things we could talk about, but we're here with Barry Goldstein.
So
He's
interesting.
the author of The Secret Language of the Heart, available on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, anywhere you can get amazing best-selling books. Also, the creator and co-producer of The Brain Warrior's Way that we did together, music to help you sleep, music to help you focus, music for motivation, creativity, relaxation. We're so proud of it. We're beginning to work on a new album.
We are.
Called Memory Rescue.
We're excited.
That we're really excited about because music can be healing. We want you to use it that way in your life so that you become the DJ of your own
that.
life and you create the symphony in your head
I
that
love
makes
that.
your
Well,
life
thank you.
meaning, purpose, and happiness happen.
Yes.
So much
Stay
fun
with us.
having you.
Thank you. I just want to say one thing before we go. For me, it's really important that people know the practical aspects of it as well. And I think the reason why it's called the secret language of the heart is because my belief is each one of us has something unique and beautiful that we're here to share, a gift of some kind. And when we're not spending our energy effectively because we have insomnia or because of physical challenges, we don't always have the time, or we're in fear because we don't know what's going on with our physical health. We don't always have the energy to spend on the things that we are here to do or things that are here to create. And that's really what it's about, is about music being the vehicle so that you have more energy, you have an increase in your quality of life so you can focus on what you're here to do, what your purpose is.
I love
And that for me is really the important message as well today, is that go out there, get more energy, use a music program so that you really can share whatever it is that you would love to share.
I think that's fantastic. And I think it's so appropriate and true. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you both for having me. Thank you for your amazing work and all that you're pioneering.
Thank you, my
appreciate
friend.
that.
Stay with us. You're listening to the Brain Warrior's Way podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Brain Warrior's Way podcast. We have a special gift for you. It's an opportunity to win an evaluation at the Amen Clinics. All you have to do is subscribe to this podcast, leave a review, and rate us on iTunes.
To learn more about Amen Clinics and the work we do, go to amenclinics.com. You can also learn about our nutraceutical products at brainmdhealth.com. Thanks for listening.